Hi everyone, thanks to be with us in the Agra question and answer today with Kate Ancketill. Hi Kate, how are you
Hi.
today?
I'm very well, thank you. Yes.
Perfect. Well, thanks to be with us today, Kate. Really, we appreciate that. And well,
Sure.
I would like to start with the first question that we received from one attendee. And to do this first question, I invite Mauricio Portela to do so. Mauri, would you like to start with the first question that we have?
Sure, of course. Kate, first of all, thanks for coming. It's one pleasure to be here talking with you. And my dear, considering the end of abundance as adaptation a current logic of consumption, I consider myself totally convinced that we are talking about one of the most important risk red flag that we will find in the future. Of course, when I say future, I'm talking about some days ahead. Keeping the proportion of my metaphor, Kate, I'd like to listen from you. If do you ever feel yourself like a Noah from our times? Yes, I'm talking about Noah from the Bible, building your ark, indicating to everyone a scarcer future that is coming, reporting about a 40 days storm that is coming too, and suffering some resistance from the industry, retailers, and consumers. Make a sense of my point, Kate. Have you ever felt like a Noah when the theme is end of abundance?
It sort of depends, to be honest, where you are in the world as to
Okay.
the extent of your Noahdom, as it were, because I come from Europe and Europe is, very exercised about, climate change and probably the most advanced in truth, certainly Northern Europe. So if you talk about those things in places like Sweden or Norway or France, they're ahead of you and they've got great solutions already, being kind of rolled out across their industries. But if you talk about it in places like North America, it's kind of new to them. Certainly, this idea of the end of abundance, that feels, I think, very strange to an American audience. They have not really perceived their lives as changing in the same way that Europeans have, and I think many others in the world as a result of climate change. So I feel that in some places I'm an outlier and I'm probably considered a bit scary and mad. And in other places, people think, well, I'm probably not going far enough because the urgency is so severe. So
Yeah.
I think it's variable, but I think overall, I see my job as to inspire and enthuse people everywhere, wherever they're at, that there are things they can do every single day tomorrow in their job to push things in the right direction because there's so much that we can do now in the corporate and retail world to improve our carbon footprint.
Got you. Thank you, Kate. Yeah, make totally sense.
Yeah, thank you very much, Kate. And I think that we can continue in the same path. But right now, to understand another question that we have, talking about the transformation agent, really, it's to whom you are talking. But I invite Max.
Yes, Kate. When you make these statements, who is your intended audience for this message? I mean, who are those transformative agents that you hope will hear you?
Well, to be honest, it's big corporates. I mean, the
Okay.
bigger the corporate entity, if you're talking about a McDonald's or a huge supermarket, or Walmart or Target, one small change that they make to their sort of packaging or
Yeah.
moving away from plastics or single-use plastics, that can really shift the dial, can't it, for the whole world? So although all of us, every single individual, whether we are just a homeowner or a mom and pop store owner, wherever we are in retail and the world of commerce, we can all do our bit, of course. But I think that it's the big billion-dollar corporations that really need to sort of show the leadership and change their ways very quickly, even though that will impact the bottom line, because it's always expensive to do things which are innovative, certainly to start with. But in my experience, they are willing to change, they are interested, and they are open to all of these new ideas. The difficulty, of course, is in the scaling and operational side of things, but certainly they are interested in the ideas going in the top of the funnel, in my experience.
And really, I would like to move to the impact that we have in Latin America, because as you see, all the audience that we have is in Latin America. So I invite Mauro to do one question talking about our audience. Yeah. So, Mau.
Thanks. Okay. Well, given the context that is being discussed here, in a borderless world like the one we are living in, and given your experience, absolutely, is there something that you can identify as unique to Latin America in your opinion? Are there any particular elements that catch your attention?
Well, of course, the environmental issue is absolutely key in your region because you have the Amazon rainforest, which obviously most of our, pretty much all of our lives depend on. So we have to protect that. And so I'm sure that's a big cultural issue for Latin America that obviously doesn't touch other people's lives in the same way. And so the connection with nature obviously is absolutely important, I'm sure. In terms of the kind of difference with other continents or in terms of retail, then I think the thing that stands out is the much lower penetration in Latin America of e-commerce, which is quite noticeable. If you look at the most advanced country in that is China, and I think they're at about 57% of everything that's sold in China is sold online. And that's way ahead of Europe, which is around about 30% typically. And obviously it goes up if there's a pandemic, etc. But around 30% e-commerce and 70% physical stores is the kind of Western European norm. You're at about, well, you're at less than 20%, I understand. I think it's predicted to be about 20% e-commerce across Latin America by 2026. So there are many reasons for this, of course. You know, a lot of the population may be without a bank account or be underbanked. They may not have as good access to the internet, etc. And therefore they're more reliant on perhaps, you know, cash economy in more rural areas, of course, probably mom and pop stores, as is very typical in many parts of the world. But what it also means is it's a huge opportunity because there is no question every country in the world has been experiencing deleveraging of physical retail, which is where it all started, the market that we all went to in the real world, and physical stores. And obviously that has deleveraged or been deleveraged by digital sales and e-commerce. And although the advance may slow as it becomes, you know, a greater penetration, I think that march towards that kind of future is inevitable for every continent. So that's also, you know, something to do with your population, which is very young. You are very lucky to have a healthy and huge working population between the ages of 15 and 25, I think, which is about 20% of the population for Latin America, much more than double what we have here in the UK, for example. We are many oldies that need to be supported by few young people, which is less than ideal from an economic point of view. So you have that kind of golden combination of a large young population that is going to be very tech savvy. They're going to be big gamers. Young people are huge users of digital and e-commerce, and as that time goes on, they will become even more your customer if you're moving towards e-commerce. So I think that is the greatest opportunity for growth for the Latin American continent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Kate, I think that in some way we are talking about one concept that also you have an excellent approach in your presentation, that it's the adaptability. And well, I invite each Angeles to explain another question that other attendee, other person asked for us.
Yeah. Kate, as already Lilo said, you mentioned constantly adaptability, and we have heard a lot in those fewer years with COVID, climate change, and I would really love to hear from you, from your perspective and experience, any advice or any tip we can just take in account as a person, and also if we are someone in a brand that we can make some change, how this adaptability can work in this new world we want to create.
Well, I think you can think about it on different levels. There's a very basic and easy to do level, and that is to build physical retail, for example, in a modular way. I mean, literally, the architecture should be modular. You should be able to change the walls, so that it becomes a social event space in the evening. Fixtures and fittings can be modular so they can be changed for different purposes. Because, we're increasingly recognizing people want different things on a different day of the week or a different time of the day. And, if it's a physical space, it needs to be changeable. So that can be the most basic way of looking at it. The more complex way to look at it is to use, for example, artificial intelligence and generative AI that is now becoming, very easily available. Lots of people are starting to use ChatGPT and its equivalents to, for example, predict footfall, predict the amount of food that will be sold, how many bowls of noodles will be ordered on a certain day according to the weather or the football match that's going on. And that allows you to therefore flex and adapt your supply chain, your employment of staff, all of the kind of operational needs that you have. You can adapt and be flexible and agile according to your anticipated, customer demands. So these things are very complex and they can't be done usually by regular human brains. And so I think we increasingly need artificial intelligence to help us with that. But then there's also back to the old omnichannel fragmentation question of, what do our customers need in different places at different times in different scenarios? So it's about adapting and right sizing, you might say, which is not necessarily downsizing, but finding the correct right size of operation, whether it be a pop-up or a kiosk or a app. It may not even be physical retail. It may be digital retail that is, operating through e-commerce purely, or through social media, or through a small space or an automated space, or only drive-through, or only click and collect. So it's about the agility of thinking in this omnichannel world. What configuration of services do we need for a particular audience in a particular place at a particular time? And it's very complicated, I'm afraid. It's easy to talk about it and very difficult to do it.
Yeah. Yes, imagine.
Yeah.
Really.
Totally.
Kate, I would like to really explain or ask you one question that we have. This one is from our side, really, because as I told you at the beginning, we really appreciate your point of view that you add every year in the NRF, because you provoke many things. Yeah, but in 2022, you talk about metaverse, something very new. Yeah, in 2023, you talk about the end of abundance, and the question that we have is, what can we expect for 2024? Yeah, so if maybe you can give us some insights about you are looking for. Yeah.
Yes, well, that is the big question, isn't it? And we're all thinking about next year for the NRF. I think it's very likely to be generative AI, because as you know, that has just exploded on the world
Yeah.
very recently and changed many people's professional lives already.
Yes.
So I'm already being asked to speak at conferences for lawyers on how will this change the legal profession, for example. And everybody's both, well, people are both excited and worried because there are going to be winners and they're going to be losers. And I mean, for example, that Spotify personal DJ, I mean, who could not look at that and think, how amazing is that? That is such a fantastic and fun and clever and personalized, brilliant service, which, I mean, if it's free, I think it is free, that's just staggering, isn't it? So that changes the dial for customer experience and customer service. If you can get that for free or for your existing Spotify account that you may pay a small amount for, then what are people going to expect from their kind of retail, partners, or from people that they are going to show customer loyalty to? Their expectations will be enormously high because they'll get great service from things like Spotify. And of course, we'll see the optimization of the back end that I've just talked about. We'll see, I think, unbelievable examples of personalization in everything from fashion to beauty to, even telling us as consumers what we would like to purchase based on, a generative AI understanding of what people like us purchase. I think we'll move into a new realm. So I think it's got to be AI, hasn't it? It's just absolutely, it's going to be terrifying because there's going to be all the fake stuff, and we need, the laws haven't caught up to protect people's privacy, and it could escape and become self-aware. I mean, it's just, it's going to be the biggest topic, I suspect, for the next year or so, or many years, until we actually start to understand what it is that we've created.
Thank you very much. We push you to tell something about the future, and well, we appreciate really this answer. Once again, thanks everyone to be here with us, and thanks Kate really to be part of this agro. And well, see you next week, and cheers. Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.